Hey, happy Holy Thursday, Passover, going into Easter weekend. So many exciting things happening. And I just got off the radio in London. Goodness, I think that's my fourth time answering questions on LBC radio. And it's very clear to me that there is going to be a lot of post-pandemic stress disorder. No question about it. That we can't visit sick ones, and about my parents. And the hardest thing, besides being sick and the worry, is that I can't go hold his hand and be next to him, and today he's not eating, and get after him or find something he would eat. That there's no question the mental health challenges that are going to come from this are going to be staggering. And when I wrote The End of Mental Illness, I was already talking about, before the pandemic, how the incidence of teenage suicide is at the highest level in recorded history, how depression has gone up 400% since 1987. So obviously Prozac didn't fix the problem. And we're going to talk about trauma. In fact, I'm just beginning to work with Tana on our next public television special for next year. It's going to be called Overcoming Anxiety, Trauma, and Grief, because there's just going to be a whole bunch of that. And I know many of you who tune in and watch that you're struggling, and there are strategies to deal with that, and we're going to talk about those over time. And we did a number of podcasts. Dr. James Gordon listened to that one on PTSD, really powerful. But what I want to talk about tonight is post-pandemic growth syndrome. What are you doing that is going to cause you to be better after we're through this, or now while we are in it? What are you going to do to be better? And when it started, I told myself, as a leader of Feynman Clinics and of my family, although it's me and 4 girls, so I really can't say I'm the leader. If I had to really be honest, it's probably Tana. But anyways, I asked myself, how am I going to feel about my actions, my behavior in September, when this thing hopefully is over, or at least we have a better handle on it. And thank God the number of deaths that they predicted are turning out to be way smaller. Now, let's hope it continues that. But how am I going to feel about myself in September? And as I look around, there are so many good things that have happened because of this. The level of pollution has gone way down. I mean, I live in Orange County, Southern California, and the skies are remarkably clear. But the thing I love the most is the family time. Is the time with Tana, the time with the girls, dinner. We just finished dinner. Tana made game hens. She was spectacular. And she's such a good cook, but she doesn't have time to do that. And now she has time. And think about it with me. for the last 40 years, we've had two-parent working families here in California just because of how expensive it is. And I think that's had a negative impact on the bond between parents and kids because parents are just so busy. And almost all the women I talk to who have kids feel guilty that they're at work and then they pick up the kids and then they drive the kids around and then they're tired. And the level of quality time is just not the same as it was perhaps decades ago. And we're getting that back in a big way. And so in my book, Feel Better Fast and Make It Last, which I just dearly love, it's about how to feel better now and later versus what so many people do now, but not later. And in the book, there's a chapter on trauma and grief and how to deal with trauma and grief in the most effective way. And in that chapter, I talk about post-traumatic growth. And it's actually one of the most exciting areas of PTSD research. The term was actually coined in the mid-1990s by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And according to them, as many as 90% of survivors report at least one aspect of post-traumatic growth, such as a renewed appreciation for life. Whenever a group of people are traumatized, so let's just say a whole bunch of us are traumatized, from losing people you love, from people you love who've been hospitalized, to losing your job, to the financial insecurity, to the isolation, which is just so hard on so many people. So when a group of people are traumatized, about 10% of people will develop PTSD. So as a nation, as a world, we've been traumatized. We are being traumatized. When you look at the television, you have to be very careful and not to stare at it 24/7 because that will trigger PTSD for you. So in the US alone, that could be 30 million people who end up with symptoms of post-traumatic stress, whether it's nightmares or flashbacks or feeling numb, feeling like your life is shortened. That's a whole bunch of people. And about 80% will return to their normal baseline within a few months. And then another 10% will actually be stronger than they were before the trauma happened. And that's called post-traumatic growth. And for this talk, we're going to call it post-pandemic growth syndrome. So research suggests post-traumatic growth or post-pandemic growth syndrome is based on 5 factors that can improve the symptoms of distress. And I created a mnemonic for it called SPARK. So the S in SPARK is spiritual growth. That you actually get a deepening of your spiritual life. There's a significant change in your belief system, a new or stronger sense of meaning and purpose. Martin Luther gave his life to God and a religious order after he survived a life-threatening thunderstorm. So think of that as post-traumatic growth. And I talked to my friend this week, Pastor Miles McPherson, who is the founder and senior pastor at The Rock in San Diego. And I'm like, Miles, how are you doing? And he's like, I am busier than ever. Attendance at church is up. Now it's all virtual and online. Volunteering is up. Giving was up. He was so excited for Easter services and the need. And he, in fact, he was on his way to bring food to nurses at the hospital. So he was doing his mission, which is ministering to the sick, to the poor, and really to our heroes, those people on the front lines. But I had an interesting call from London tonight where a woman, she said she just felt guilty just staying at home. She wanted to help. And I said, but you are helping by staying home and not letting the virus use you as a carrier. So you, all of you who are staying home and feeling isolated and alone, you're being heroic by doing the right things. So the S in Spark is spiritual growth. The P is you see new possibilities because of the trauma and grief. New opportunities have emerged from the situation, opening up possibilities that were not present before. One of my friends, for instance, lost her daughter to a drunk driver and has traveled the country helping other families who've had experiences. She's actually one of my wife Tana's heroes. When there is a tragedy, what are the new possibilities that you're going to experience in your life because of this? Hello, Australia. Love Australia. And I love the thought, Norma James, about being grateful. I already see new possibilities. The world is going to get serious about going online. Online education is going to skyrocket. And all of the road warriors that had to get on a plane, sleep in a hotel, present at a meeting the next day, and then come back, that I predict that is going to be cut by 30, 40, maybe even 50%, because people realize we really can connect using technology. Hello, Oklahoma. I went to medical school in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is so pretty. There's so many beautiful places in Oklahoma. So new possibilities of how to connect. In England, telemedicine happened virtually overnight. Same thing here in the US. Now at Amen Clinics, we've been doing telemedicine for 30 years. We actually have patients in 121 countries. I'm pretty excited about that. And so, if I have a patient in Singapore, yes, they may come for a scan, but then all of the follow-up pretty much is over the phone or over Zoom or Skype or, whatever video conferencing software that you might have. So the new possibilities, what are the new possibilities? I am teaching Amelie, our 10-year-old niece who lives with us, how to play table tennis. And she's got the serve down. I'm so proud. We're just started working on backhand, but that's going to be a good thing for her. So spark, spiritual life, possibilities. And number 3 is an increased appreciation of life. Better at appreciating each moment. So, for example, after a near-death experience, one of my patients lost her fear of death and also started putting in fewer hours at work to spend more time with her families. I dearly hope you're spending time asking yourself, what's important? What is important to you, and what can you do during this time to strengthen your physical health? It's a great time to lose weight. And you've seen obesity is associated with a worse outcome with COVID-19. So this is now a time to not feel better now, but not later with all of the ice cream that you may be consuming. So appreciating life. And I have to tell you, when I'm present and not in the future with fear about my dad, but just enjoying every moment I can talk to him on the phone or be connected to him or my siblings, I'm so much better than if I let my mind spin out of control. Because the fact is, I know he's going to die. I know I'm going to die. It's really the denial of death that prevents us from doing the right things. I'd mentioned only just a little bit. I just submitted a manuscript for my new book for next year called Your Brain is Always Listening. And part one, it's always listening to the dragons from the past that still breathe fire on your emotional centers. And there are 13 dragons. But one of the dragons, and I was sort of ambivalent about putting this dragon in, but this dragon and I have become very friendly. It's the death dragon. And the death dragon comes generally for most people in your 40s. This is the seeds of midlife crises. And in your 40s, you begin to have people die. You have a parent die, or parents of your friends die, or, maybe sometimes in your 20s or 30s when your grandparents die. And you ask yourself this question, is this all there is? And so, when you're not happy with your life, you get divorced. And you buy a Corvette. And then a couple of months later, you sell the Corvette because the suspension sucks. But you drastically change your life because for the first time, you really know you're going to die. And then you ask yourself, is this what I want for my life? Now, the death dragon happens earlier if you had a parent that was sick, or you had a friend die of cancer or suicide. And then if you don't wrestle or tame the death dragon, it drives anxiety, panic, fear. And now with COVID-19 going around the globe, I almost think of it like Godzilla dragon stomping on countries, making people afraid. But in large part, the reason they're so afraid is they've not come to terms with the death dragon. It's not until you realize you are going to die that you'll truly enjoy and be present with the gift of life. So that's A, the appreciation of life. 4, the R is a change in relationships, or relating to others in more meaningful ways than before the trauma occurred. So there's an increased sense of connection. People appreciate family and friends more. One of my friends started Talk About Curing Autism, TACA, a support group with more than 50,000 family members after her son was diagnosed with autism. And the the wild ride of the journey, she's like, this is horrible. I need to help. I need to figure this out, and then I need to teach other people how to do it. And Lisa Ackerman, she's just amazing. I adore her. So what's changing in your relationships during the pandemic? I talked to one of my patients today, and her husband's a professional athlete. And so he travels a lot, but not now. And the kids that are still fairly young, their whole life, Dad's been there and not, there and not, there and not. And now he's there. And we just talked about what a great opportunity for bonding. It is so amazing if you think about it, and I want you to think about it for you. What are the opportunities you have to deepen your relationships? Before this happened, our 16-year-old got her license, got her first job. She acts, and she's had a bunch of acting jobs, but this is like her first job where she had to show up at a certain time, and she was so excited, and boom, the pandemic hit. And that was really hard for her. She sort of felt like she was being punished, and she wasn't. It's just what we have to do. But since then, after she wrestled with it, like I think we all wrestled with it, the level of closeness between her and me and her mom and her cousins, that sort of makes up our house. It's really special. And it's a chance. It's funny, I was doing the dishes tonight, and I have a rule. I don't know, maybe you'll like this rule. Whoever cooks can help with the dishes or not. It's completely up to them. And typically, Chloe's boyfriend's here too. So there's 6 of us. So that means 5 people doing the dishes, and everybody has to help until everything's done. And it took a little while to get everybody to comply with that. But it's like, if you ate and you didn't cook, you need to clean up. And I like that a lot. And actually, the dishes are just some of the most interesting discussions. You know, it's dinner and then the dishes. I mean, we literally have a good hour, an hour and a half together. And I was thinking while I was doing the dishes, I wonder how many more nights we're going to have like this, because I'm going to miss it. And I have my hands, I'm like dishpan hands. You know, I mean, I'm generally organizing things while they're putting stuff away and cleaning the counters and so on. But I actually began to feel just a little bit of sadness about missing what is turned out to be a very special time. Now, it doesn't take away at all the sadness I have over my folks or some of my employees that got COVID-19 or the fear. I have a clinic in downtown Manhattan. And so, I mean, they're really in the epicenter of it. So, spiritual growth, S, possibilities, P, appreciation of life, the A. R is a deepening in your relationships. And one of my favorite ones is the K, kick-ass personal strength. This is seen in expressions like, if I can live through this, I can live through anything. You are living in a historic time that they're going to write about for generations. And I want you to be curious about it. I want you to come out the other side healthy. And you do that with mental toughness. And as I tell my patients a lot, because they're like, well, I tried to kill the ants. You know, the automatic negative thoughts. I tried to kill them. It doesn't work. they'll say. And yeah, they tried once. So what happens if you really want to get healthy and lose 30 pounds and you go, but I had a salad for lunch. Well, why didn't it work? Because you went back to your bad habits for dinner and dessert and breakfast. It's like, if you want mental toughness, you need to do these exercises just like you need to run, just like you need to take your supplements, just like you need to work out and eat right and engage in other physically healthy habits. Mental hygiene, it's not a one-time thing. It's a daily practice. And so if you want to get post-pandemic growth syndrome, I want that for all of you, then you need to put these habits in your life on a regular basis. Simple things. Start every day. When you wake up, today is going to be a great day. Say that to yourself. Say it out loud. Even if you don't believe it, your unconscious mind will find why. Before you go to bed at night, what went well today? And I'm always amazed. There are just so many things that went well today. When you go to do something, ask yourself, is this good for my brain or bad for it? And if it's bad for it, stop it. If you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, well, then we should talk. You can call the clinics and we'll talk. Whenever you feel sad, mad, nervous, or out of control, write down what you're thinking. And then just ask yourself if it's true. When Tana and I did the live chat on mental toughness, we dug into exactly how to kill the ants with those 5 questions. Post-pandemic growth syndrome. I'm rooting for you. You can also check out our podcast at brainwarriorswaypodcast.com. Coming up, I'm going to do some more on my own supplements. I think I'm going to do omega-3 and why I think everybody should take it. What's the science behind that? But I really want you sharing this live chat with anyone you think could use a mental boost. Take care. Night.